Okay, today we're going to start Daf Chav Testament Beis. This is really a new sugya. Maybe it could be its own Masechta. I mean, it's associated with Avodah Zara, but it's with Masechtas Avodah Zara. But it starts like a very interesting Yeridea discussion. It's quoted. These things are quoted often, and you learn for smicha. These sugyas. Starting from here, it's going to be like more halachic. Okay, we thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. And in this list of our learning, we should have Beis Hamikdash immediately. We're learning also for a first time from my father and for Naftali ben Menachem Bela. By the way, I saw Reb Naftali yesterday. Baruch Hashem, like he's getting stronger. Okay, so the Mishnah starts like this. Elu dvarim shalei dikchav masurim ve'isura nisr hana. The following are items of an idolater that are prohibited to eat, and not only prohibited to eat, it's also prohibited to have benefits from. They are, the first one is hayayin, is wine. We know that wine could have been used for idolatrous purposes, and so wine that's bought from a non-Jew is prohibited. There's a second prohibition. There's a second prohibition which the Gemara is not discussing yet. That is that you might end up marrying their daughter. But right now we're talking about just that original prohibition of it could have been used as a libation for an idol. And also vinegar of the non-Jew, even though they don't pour vinegar for the idol, but because vinegar started off as wine, so it was already aser, and it doesn't become mutter when it changes into vinegar. Cheres hadriani. I'm not sure the source of this. This is probably the Quran would tell me, but is that like from Hadrian? This is a vessel that was used to store wine. When you put water in it, it gets the flavor of the wine. So it has the what are they called? Sherry casks and stuff. Curious what it has to do with Hadrian. Hadrianic earthenware. One may not derive benefit. Oh, that's the halacha. No. This is a kind of earthenware that was made of clay mixed with concentrated wine. Shards of Hadrianic earthenware would be placed in water, which would absorb some of the flavor from the wine, producing a flavored beverage. The Gemara discusses this matter in great detail and explains the reason for the prohibition. So these are like concentrated wine. That's absorbed into these shards. He doesn't explain infused. He doesn't explain what it has to do with Hadrian. Okay. Thought there would be some history there. Iris Levuvin is the 32a. It says that it has to do with Hadrian. Iris Levuvin is leather that the heart was removed from the animal. So there's a big hole in the leather that they cut a hole in it and they pulled out the heart right after the animal died. So, and that was a idolatrous practice. And they would offer that to the idol. They would just kill the animal and take the heart, or maybe not even kill the animal, just pull out the heart. Yeah. So that type of leather is prohibited because you're taking this from this well, what's it called? The takruvis. It was an offering. You took this from an idolatrous offering. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says you have to look at the way the leather was cut, the way the hide was cut. If it was cut in a circle, so then that's exactly how they would pull the heart out. If it was cut with an incision, like a long cut, so then that's not a problem. It got cut. That wasn't used for an idol. So Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says you can tell the way it was cut. Basar, it was done live. Right. Basar hanichnas lavedas kechaven mutter. If flesh entered into the place of the idol, it's still permissible because it wasn't offered yet. However, but if it's on its way out, then it's aser because it was offered to the idol. Now, why would it be going out if it was already offered? It was not slaughtered for the sake of idolatry. The novelty of this ruling is that mere intent to offer the meat does not render it prohibited. This is due to the principle that there's no consecration for idol worship. We're going to see later. Here, let's say meat that exits is usher because it's assumed to have been used for idolatrous ritual. Okay. We've had other Gemaras that said that buying animals from idolater shouldn't be a problem, because if he intended it to be an offering, then he would never have sold it. I'm just asking, like, why is it leaving? Why is it leaving the? I guess what happens is they offer some of it, and then they take some of it out to eat, like lahavdil. Okay. This is Divrei Rebbe Kiva. Hahochan letarpos, asalasas velasas imam b'im matar. People that are on the way to worship some idol, they're going on some pilgrimage to worship an idol. You're not supposed to do business with them while they're on their journey. They may either give thanks to their idol when they get there, like, what a good purchase I got, or you may be supplying them with things that they're going to use for offerings. Right. And habayim mutarim batan, when they're on their way back, you're allowed to do business with them. Two types of flasks, either a leather flask or a earthenware flask. And there's Jewish wine inside one of these flasks, or both of these flasks. Asurin v'isurin, you're not allowed to drink that wine, and you're not allowed to have benefit from the wine. It's absorbed the flavor of the wine. This is sherry casks, right? We're not talking about the whiskey in the sherry cask. That could be different. But this is wine in sherry cask. There's wine in wine casks. Right? Sherry is a type of wine. Divrei Meir. Chachamim say any certain sahana. Chachamim say that it's only aser b'shtia, but it's not aser b'hana. Okay, we'll see in the Gemara. Great peels and great pits. Asurim v'surnis anad Reb Meir. It's asur to have benefit from them. It's also to eat them or to drink the wine. It's also a benefit, which would mean to sell it or something like that. Chachamim say it depends. Lachen, if they're still moist, then asurim, then they're prohibited. Yiveshim, once they're totally dried out, then it's mutarim, then it becomes permissible. What would they do with the peels and the pits? They would put water on them, and they would soak in the. It would get a flavor. Shouldn't we be concerned that it absorbed some of the wine, the idolatrous wine, because it was sitting in the wine? Shouldn't we be concerned of that? I guess once it's dried out, then we consider it that all that wine is gone. Let's see. Doesn't have a comment on this. Stricter. He holds them more. Isser Hana. Isser Hana. Nasser is not allowed to eat them. You can't benefit. You can't even sell it. Something that's Isser Hana, you can't even give it as a gift, because when you give it as a gift, the person owes you a favor. So milk and meat that's cooked is Isser Hana. You can't feed it to your animals, right? Hamurias, this is a fish oil. Gvina space unaiki shalev de kechavim, or the gvina, the cheese from this city that belongs to a non-Jew. Asurin v'isurin esrana v're'ameir. Apparently, they would mix wine into this, into the fish oil, and they would mix wine into the cheese. Interesting that they would put it together. That's usually have wine with cheese. Here, they would just mix it in a blender. The Chachamim Aimrim, Ein Yisur Nisana. The Chachamim say that it's not Asur Ba'ana. Why not? If it's in there, why isn't it Asur? I'm not sure. Okay, we'll see hopefully in the Gemara. Amar Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says, Shal Rabbi Yishmael es Rabbi Yeshua k'shayim mahalchen baderach. A lot of details in this story. Rabbi Yishmael asked Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua is Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya. Rabbi Yishmael is the grandson of Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha, the Kohen Gadol. He's the friend of Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yishmael. And he's asking Rabbi Yeshua. This is at the, like after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Says, they were on the road. Amar Lai, he says to him, why did the sages forbid cheese from a non-Jew? Why can't we eat cheese? He's saying like this. The non-kosher animals, their milk doesn't curdle, doesn't turn into cheese. The only milk that turns into cheese is from the kosher animals, from a cow and goats, sheep. That's cheese. The pig milk doesn't become cheese. And so what are you worried about with non-kosher cheese? What do you think is in there? Amrullah, so he responded, I know the milk is kosher because it came from a cow or a goat or a sheep, feta cheese, right? The rennet that they're using came from a non-kosher animal. Now, what do they use for rennet? So typically, the rennet was they could either use the actual meat of the stomach, the maw, right, the keva, or if a young calf would drink milk from its mother, and then they would slaughter that calf. They don't need to use the maw, the meat itself. They could take the milk that was digested in the calf that was in that area, and that also has all the enzymes, and they could use that. They could put it in. So he's saying that now that the milk that was left in the animal that wasn't slaughtered, which is now partially digested, which has the enzymes in it, they would use that kevas nevela. They would use that in the to make the cheese. So since that milk absorbs from the nevela,
slaughter the calf drinking this milk. Just get the milk out of it.
No, they would slaughter it. They would slaughter, but non-Jews, so they would kill it.
So it wouldn't be shechted.
Yeah, it wouldn't be shechted. So it's a nevela. And now they take that and they use that to curdle as an enzyme to the milk, the cheese. And now they have cheese, and you want to eat that cheese. I know the milk came from a cow, which is no problem. But how did they get it into cheese? They took a non-kosher not a non-kosher animal. They took a kosher animal that wasn't slaughtered, and they took the milk out of the rennet from it. Okay. Well, he says like this. He says, let's say a burnt offering. It's an oila. The kohanim don't get any skin, the hide, on the altar. But it says when they're cleaning out the animal, they find cheese inside. It's not really cheese; it's digested milk inside the stomach. They said, "Amru kayin shadaita yafa sarfachaya." Someone that's not finicky, that doesn't get grossed out by this, is able to eat this cheese raw, left inside the dead animal, the slaughtered animal that's being used as a sacrifice. Said, look, this is much stricter then this is kachim, this is a karban. This is much stricter than what you're telling me about nevela. And nevertheless, the kohen is allowed to eat it. And we know that you're not allowed to eat anything from the oila, but he's allowed to eat this, even though it's absorbed the flavor of the animal. Now, why should he be allowed to eat it? It must be that because it's partially digested, it's considered fully digested. And it's not really food. It's considered, not just gross, but it's considered waste. It's considered excrement. And that's not prohibited. Excrement isn't prohibited.
Is it after 6 hours?
After 6 hours from what?
From the culture.
You're talking about when it's considered. No, here there's milk that's absorbed inside the animal. That's inside. That was digested by the animal. Now you want to eat that milk. You want to say it's 6 hours since the animal ate it?
No, but how long after?
How long after what?
Would it be considered like not food anymore?
Oh, okay, yeah. In the process, how long down this digestion process would it take? So, that's probably the discussion here. At the first part of this discussion, he probably held that it wasn't considered waste. That's Rabbi Yeshua's opinion. Rabbi Shmuel responds to him, obviously it's considered waste, and it's already considered digested. Well, and that's why he's allowed to eat it. They didn't agree to this, that he's allowed to eat it. But they said, Midirabanan, you're not allowed to eat it. Midiraisa, you are. Midirabanan, not. And therefore, there's no me'ila in it. You're not taking personal benefit from things that were items that were consecrated. It's not. You don't violate that law. But nevertheless, whatever the case is, we're seeing that it's not, biblically, this is not a problem. So why did the sages make a problem on non-kosher cheese? Now, he throws in another possibility. He says, remember I told you that they take the rennet from the calf? Guess what? That calf that they took was an offering to an idol. And that's, we're worried that maybe they took the rennet from this calf that was offering. So, but so what? If it's offering to an idol, if it's waste, then why should it be a problem? If it's just the waste, it's not the waste wasn't offered to them. No. When it's an offering to an idol, even the waste is prohibited. Now, the explanation why is that since the animal looks fatter when it has waste inside it, it's more plump. So that's considered a benefit to the idol. Now, when you're taking that, you're getting benefit from the idol, from the offering to the idol. So what would have been permitted by a Jewish sacrifice, or by a regular non-kosher animal, is prohibited by the offering to the idol because it makes it look more plump.
Have to have that little cheese party at.
Yeah. Probably. But sorry. No, you can take grapes, unless it has wine on it.
Then if they raise the cow like for the idol purpose, and then
No. There's no issue. It's only if it's offered. Yeah. Umar's going to say later that there's no such thing. By kodesh, there's something like kudshim. It's consecrated. I don't know if there's a consecration for idols. I don't know if we count that. I don't think we count that.
Situation that their intention. There was an item that they intended. I don't know if they had to do with
I
the
think
wine.
only it has to do with if they built it for it. Only if it's like construction. I don't think just an animal becomes like. I'm not sure. I have to check. Let's wait on that. Yeah. Sorry.
The animals don't come with a user's manual. It says you have to consecrate an animal.
For the idol.
There's a question. No, let's forget that. He said if they're not freaked out by it.
Right.
Grossed out.
Grossed out. What's the Hebrew?
The Hebrew for that was Daitan Yafa. That they have a good mind. They have a good mind, pretty mind.
It's a nice way of saying it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole spectrum of people when it comes to these types of things. People, remember the Gemara with the fly in the wine? That the Gemara says that one person won't touch the wine, another person will take the fly out and drink the wine. Another person will suck the wine out of the fly. Just one of those. There's all types of.
It's an acquired taste.
An acquired taste. Right. When it comes to germs, it's the whole thing. There's some people they won't touch. Oh, someone touched it. Other people, like they eat the sandwich. Oh, you got to taste this. The guy takes a bite, takes it back. It's like, oh, no, it's good. Someone was telling me about a doctor. He used to go to the kiddush, and he would drink from everyone's leftover cups. And the thing. He says, yeah, if it doesn't kill me, it'll make me stronger. So
It doesn't kill me, it'll make me stronger.
Anyway, all types. Well, Amrullah. Okay, so that's where Amrullah. He says to him, "Oh, you're dealing with idolatry. Then it should be prohibited even to have benefit from." So Rabbi Shmuel really asked very strong questions to Rabbi Yeshua. Leaves Rabbi Yeshua without explaining to him, without giving a good explanation on why cooked cheese needs to have a hechsher. Buy non-kosher cheese. What's the problem? Can't come from a pig.
Rennet, everybody knows that.
But the rennet, so far, wasn't an issue because the rennet was considered waste. And unless it's idolatry. But if it's idolatry, then we should say that it's prohibited to have benefit from, even not just to eat. We never said that it's prohibited to have benefit from cheese. You could sell it. Treifa milk. We're not concerned about treifa milk. Well, Hisila Davaracha, Rabbi Yeshua changed the subject. Amalai Yishmael, he says to Rabbi Yishmael, how do you read the verse? This is right at the beginning of Shir Hashirim. It says, he kisses me with the kisses, he kisses me with the kisses of his mouth, because your wine, it switches from third person to second person. Because your wine, your love, daidecha, your love is better than wine. He says, how do you read that? You read it daidecha, I don't know how this was read before vowels. You just have to guess what it's talking about. Does it say it in a masculine or does it say it in a feminine? Now, what this would mean is that Yishakeni, he kisses me. It's referring to the Jewish people speaking about Hashem. He kisses me with the kisses of his mouth because your love is better than wine. Who's saying your love? Now, if it's the Jewish people speaking about Hashem, then it would be Daidecha. Hashem is considered the masculine. If it's feminine, then it would be Hashem speaking, the Jewish people quoting. This is a quote in a quote. You know how you use the one inside the quotes. You have another quote. Use only one of the quotation marks. So it's the Jewish people saying, "Why does he kiss me with the kisses of his mouth?" Because he said that your love, referring to the Jewish people, the idayich, is better than wine. This is, by the way, this is a confusing part of Shir Hashirim. Who's talking? And I keep switching back and forth. Yeah, that's it. But that's the main part to know it. Okay, so he asked him, "What does it say in your? How do you read that pasuk?" Apparently, there were confusions about the vowels in different places. Well, Amalai, he responded, "Kitayvim daidecha." Maybe he said Kitayvim daidayach. He said probably. Amalai, Rabbi Yeshua says, "Ein adavar kain, it's impossible." Since it says over there that the scent of your oil is good, and it continues on the verse. Shemanecha has to be masculine. your oil, the scent of your oil. The your is a masculine your. It has to be masculine because the verse continues and says, "Therefore the maidens, the maidens love you." Now, it can't be the maidens loving the feminine.
Right.
The maidens love the masculine, right? So it would be, it has to be shemanecha. So if it's in context, ki tayvim daidecha l'reach shemanecha, that would go together. So it would be, in the end, it switches from third person to second person, the Jewish people speaking. That he kisses me with the kisses of his mouth because your love is better than mine. The Jewish people continue to talk to Hashem. That's the way it concludes. Okay. A lot of interesting things here. Why did he switch the subject to this? And why didn't he answer him? And why did he have to pick this? As Yayin Minalan. How do we know that wine of a non-Jew is prohibited? Amar Rabba Baravua, Amar Kra Rabba Baravua. This is father-in-law of Reb Nachman. He says, Pasuk says, the fat of their sacrifices they eat, they drink the wine of their offerings. The wine of libations. Just like a sacrifice to idols is prohibited. So also the wine is prohibited. It says, how do you know their offering to idols is prohibited? It says says that they attached themselves to Balpar and they ate the offerings of the dead, which is an idol is considered dead, right? We had yesterday in in Tanya, yeah, no, that was referring to Rishayim. So anyway, it says that it's considered zivchei mesim, got him pricky others. Ma meis just like the dead is prohibited to have benefit from. You can't have benefit from a corpse. We don't use corpses for benefit. Also, a sacrifice to an idol you can't have benefit from. How do you know you can't have benefit from a corpse? Asya sham yegla rufa. We learned from the egla rufa. It says the word sham. This is a verbal analogy. It says sham by the egla rufa. It says sham by a corpse, and by someone that passed away. And we know that by the egla rufa you can't have benefit. You know, when we broke the neck of the calf, when if someone died between cities. The ksiv hach over here it says v'tamasha Miriam. Ksiv hasam over there it says v'arfushem esegla banachal malal nasabanaf kanasabanah. Just like by the calf that the neck was broken, you can't have benefit from. So too, it says v'tamasha Miriam died there. That's telling me that you can't have benefit from someone that died. V'hasaminalan. How do you know you can't have benefit from the egla rufa? Amri de Rabbi Yanai kapar ksiv b'kakachim, because it says atonement, which means that's an atonement, which is just like a sacrifice, just like a holy sacrifice. Can't have benefit from that. Can't have benefit from, so this is like, goes like this. Can't have benefit from a carbon, personal benefit. Can't have benefit from the egla rufa, the calf. You can't, which tells me you can't have benefit from a corpse, which tells me you can't have benefit from a sacrifice to an idol, which tells me you can't have benefit from wine. Non-Jewish wine. Wine that may have been poured. Okay. Then the second part of the Mishnah, the second phrase over here was vinegar that was wine in the hands of the non-Jew. Pshita, of course it's prohibited. What do you want to say? You know, you can kosher utensils by boiling them up. You want to say that your wine is going to become kosher because it went sour and it turns into vinegar? The prohibition goes away. Prohibition doesn't go away. It's still the same stuff. Rav Ashi says, and it's coming to teach us something else. If you have vinegar, Jewish person, and he sends it to his neighbor, balsamic vinegar, sends it to his neighbor, and he puts it in an Uber, and non-Jewish Uber. You have to double seal that. If it would be wine, it should be double sealed. It's vinegar. You don't have to double seal. Why? Why don't you have double seal? Well, he's not going to pour it as a libation because it's vinegar. And the only concern is that maybe he took some and replaced it with his. He said he's not going to go through the effort of replacing even a single seal just for his own. If it would be, you see, the way it works is like this. They were very dedicated to their idols. They would go through, extreme effort to pour something for their idol. So they would try to replicate a seal just to be able to pour it to their idol. So you have to do a double seal. But for their own benefit, to put a little bit of balsamic vinegar on their salad while they're driving the thing, they're not going to go through that effort to replace it. They put in more effort for their idol. Because over here, we're no concern that they're using it for the idol. It's only maybe personal use that he used it. So one seal would be enough. That's what it's teaching us. So you see,
Take all that extra one.
Right.
Extras.
Yeah. If you're worried about pouring it, they don't pour it for the idol. If they're worried that maybe exchanged a little bit because he wanted to have a little vinegar on his salad, even the kachaysim, if he wouldn't go through that effort to have to make a new seal. By the way, the seals don't have to be foolproof. They just have to be effort. They put on a piece of tape over the box. We consider that a seal. But theoretically, you can take a blow dryer, and remove the tape with do a little trick. I don't know. They used to open up envelopes. They used to open up envelopes with a blow dryer. They would like release the what is it? It was like a gelatin that would use to
steam water, and you could take off a stamp that was.
Oh yeah.
And reuse it because it wasn't canceled.
You would steam the water in the iron.
Yeah,
you would push the button. Someone was just telling me that how do you kasher an iron? So what do you need the iron kasher for? He said no, in yeshiva they would make grilled cheese with the iron, and someone did it on his like burger or something. Now he has to kasher the iron. You need another iron. I don't know. Okay. A part of iron. So Amar Rabbi Loi. Rabbi Loi says, this is Rabbi Loi, not Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Loi's father. This is Rabbi Loi from Eretz Yisrael, from the Amorite period. Shanino, we learned in the Mishnah, Yayin Mevashal Shalev T'cham Shem T'chlas Yayin Aser. Wine that was cooked, that belongs to a non-Jew, but originally it was wine it was the non-Jew cooked wine. He had wine and he cooked it. It says it's still Aser. Of course it's Aser. From the Ivshel Paka Le Yisura, you think you kasher wine by cooking it? You boil it up, you think it's a pot, you boil it and then it becomes kosher? That doesn't become kosher. Amar Ravashi says, Asal Shmina, no, he has a chiddush. The chiddush is like this. Yain mevushel shalanu. If we have cooked wine, that you sent it with a non-Jew, it's in the hands of a non-Jew. In you don't need a double seal. One seal would be enough. If it's because you're worried that he may have poured it like Menasche, they don't pour wine like that.
For Napa Valley.
Napa Valley, they're pouring libations.
For Napa Valley. We just had Maseches.
All right. And Shapiro. Right. If you're worried that maybe he took some and I was replacing it, because there's one seal, that's already good enough. So just for his own benefit, he's not going to have to forge a seal, to replicate a seal like that. Taner Rabbanan, it was taught in a brayso on top of Daf Lamed. Yayin mevushel, cooked wine, va'aluntis, and aluntis is another type of. It's a mixture of wine and stuff, right? It's old wine with water. The Gemara is going to say in a minute. In aluntis, shalev d'chichavim, it's asurim. It's prohibited to use. Why? Because it used to be non-kosher. The wine wasn't kosher wine. It was by the non-Jew. And the fact that he cooked it, it doesn't make it kosher. And aluntis is the fact that he mixed in these other additives into it. It doesn't make it. It doesn't kosherize it. It doesn't kosherize. Aluntis kibriyasa. If a Jewish person had had aluntis, and it ends up in the hands of a non-Jew. So then that's muteris, that is permissible, because over there already we're not concerned that he poured it because it has other ingredients and they would only pour pure wine. Do they say what in the background? Yeah, the Gemara is going to discuss it in a moment.
That's the continent that stank into the ocean.
Atlantis? Alunta says of unclear origin. The term probably evolved from the Greek onanth, meaning ointment, often used in reference to a particular ointment prepared with wine. And then the next one we're going to learn is anoimelin, from the Greek anomaly, meaning wine mixed with honey. Okay, we'll see in a minute. Yeah. So it says, now the Gemara says, Kidetanya Gabe Shabbos, or Kidetanan Gabe Shabbos, as it was taught regarding Shabbos. I'm sorry, I skipped. Israel aluntis. What is aluntis? Kidetanya Gabe Shabbos, as was taught regarding Shabbos. In the Bryce, it says, Oisin anumalin. You're allowed to make a numalin on Shabbos to drink. Beinoisin aluntis, but you're not allowed to make aluntis. We discussed that there's prohibitions on preparing medicine and concerning medicine because someone may grind herbs, and grinding on Shabbos is prohibited. So for minor discomforts, medicine was prohibited. So, so here it says, Ezri anumalin. Oh, interesting. So, but interesting. It says you're not allowed to make aluntis. Ezri anumalin. Anumalin you are allowed to make. No, you're not allowed to make it because it is considered medicine. The opposite. The other one is not. Anumalin you are. Ezri aluntis. Okay. Anumalin yain advashu pilpuli. Anumalin is wine, honey, and pepper. Aluntis is yain yashan umayim tzelulim v'afarsiman da'avdi lebei mesusa. Apparently, aluntis, well, it's made out of old wine, clear water. That means the water was left out for a day, and they would only take off like the top of the water so that it was very clear and anything that was in it was settled. And a farsimine, which is balsam, and they would use it for people that were coming out of the bathhouse that were very hot, maybe dehydrated, and this would hydrate them. And apparently that's considered a refuah. That's why it was prohibited. It's interesting that to hydrate would be considered refuah. We would consider that food today. We wouldn't consider that a problem. Someone says, oh, I am thirsty. We would say, okay, medicine.
Like today, maybe because it had to do with the grinding today, we don't.
No. Do you think back then someone said they're thirsty, they wouldn't be allowed to drink because that's medicinal?
No,
We didn't say any
that-
foods
it's
that-
just this one. Just this one because it involved grinding. Water was okay to drink at any time, but this one, since it involved grinding, that's
No. If it involved grinding, then it would be a biblical prohibition. Here we're talking about that it doesn't involve grinding, and nevertheless it's prohibited because it's similar to other medicines which could involve grinding, and therefore it's a rabbinic decree, right? No, Marasayin is not a rabbinic. Marasayin is a rabbinic decree, but that's something else. This is nothing to do with Marasayin. This is that if we allow medicines, and you may think that medicines are permissible, and you may end up grinding. It's not because someone that sees you thinks that you. Marasayin is someone that sees you thinks. Okay. Rabbi and Rav Yosef both said, Yayin Maza Game Mishum Gilei. We get into a discussion over here about Gilei, which is the wine that's left overnight, or any liquid that's left overnight. There's a concern that maybe a snake came out of its hole, took a sip from the wine, deposited in the wine its venom, and went back into the hole, and you didn't notice. So if it's left open, it's a problem. However, Rabbi and Rav Yosef say that wine that's been mixed with water, they used to mix wine with water. Two possible reasons why they would mix it with water. One is because they had a wine punch, not a punch. They would have a wine punch because
A wine cooler.
because the the wine was too strong back then. For somehow they got the alcohol to get higher than 15% or something. Maybe there's more sugar in the grapes. I don't know. Other possibility is that the way that it fermented, the yeasts evolved, and back then it would make them sick in the stomach. So they would mix it. It was the same alcohol, possibly. They would mix it with water just to make it easier to drink. And today we drink the wine straight because the yeasts are better, whatever the natural yeasts are. Yeah. No, it's just, remember, beer used to have this like a very bad reputation. Years ago, beer was like, oh, beer. I think people they didn't have the right yeast, and they would just make beer like using yeast from the challah, and it wouldn't come out right. But then they developed it, and they have like better beers, taste better now, I think.
Rabbi Smith.
Oh yeah, I used to make beer. Well, anyway, diluted wine
Good.
doesn't have.
Yeah, so good at the restaurant one.
Yeah.
Show them that.
Diluted wine doesn't have a problem with the snakes. The snakes don't drink it, so you're allowed to. If it's left overnight, you're allowed to drink it. Yayin mevushel, cooked wine, ein b'mishum nisach, doesn't have a problem of the non-Jews pouring it for libations. Okay, very nice. 2 halachas from Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef. Ibaylo, by the way, they were the Rosh Yeshiva of Pumbedisa. Rabbi first, and then Rabbi Yosef. Both of them made these 2 statements. Now they have a question. Yayin mevushel yesh b'mishum gilui, yayin b'mishum gilui. When it came to cooked wine, you only told me that the non-Jews don't pour it. What about snakes? Do they drink from it? Tashma, come and listen. Heyed Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi al yayin mevushel shem mishum gilui. We have a testimony from Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi that cooked wine has no problem of the snakes. Rabbi Yanai bar Yishmael chalash. Rabbi Yanai bar Yishmael, he was ill. All lagabi Rabbi Shmuel ben Zirud v'Rabbanan l'shuli bey. Well, he gets visited by Rabbi Shmuel ben Zirud and the sages to see how he's doing. Yasvim kambelos, while he's sitting there laying on his bed, sitting on his bed, he asked them the question: Yayin mevushel yesh mishum gilei, em b'shum gilei. If I had wine that was left overnight, am I allowed to drink it, or should I be concerned that maybe a snake took a sip from it? Amalu Rabbi Shmuel ben Zirud. Rabbi Shmuel ben Zirud says, Hachem Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says, Mishum gaver Rabba, in the name of a great man, Amanu Reb Chia, Yayin mevushel, em b'shum gilei. Don't worry. If you leave your cooked wine overnight, it's not a problem. Amrulay nismach, can I rely on that? I'm not sure why he had that question. He told him that Shlakish said the name of Rabbi Chia. But Machale Rabbi Yanai bar Yishmael, Rabbi Yanai bar Yishmael says, Alai val tzavarai. No, so it must be Kamibai. Interesting. I wasn't sure who answered this. I thought Rabbi Shmuel ben. The question was asked by the one that was ill, Rabbi Yanai bar Yishmael. No, yeah. The question was asked by him. Lahu. Now Amru Lei, they said to him, Nisma. Yeah, oh, so they were asking. The visitors were asking. And he responded, Amalahu Rabbi Shmuel ben Zirud, no, Rabbi Shmuel ben Zirud, who was visiting, responded. They asked Rabbi Shmuel ben Zirud, can we rely on it? Rabbi Yanai bar Yishmael said that they could rely on it. Yeah.
The snakes don't like.
Yeah.
Like Chabad.
No. Well, you have to cover your wine. You need it on your
Yeah,
counter.
it's a little confusing here that the person that answered the question is not the one that's saying to rely on it. It's someone else in the room that's saying to rely on it. Okay. Shmuel, he says, Alai val tzavare. That's an expression that means you can rely on me. He went like this. Like, trust me, yeah. Shmuel v'Avlet haviyasvu. Shmuel and Avlet. Avlet is Shmuel's friend. That's an idolater. And Shmuel and Avlet would get together. He must have been intelligent They must have had intelligent conversations. Yeah. Jerusalem Talmud has what?
Sounded like the corporate church.
Avleit, it says over here, Avleit was a Gentile scholar who was very close to Shmuel. Talmud relates several encounters and discussion between them. Avleit was familiar with Jewish customs, and the Jerusalem Talmud, several other conversations between him and Jewish sages are recorded. Although Avleit's origins are unknown, his name indicates that he might have been Babylonian, as it is apparently derived from the Babylonian name Sanballat. Okay, it's cute. They were sitting, and someone brings in front of them, the waiter brings cooked wine. So Avleit doesn't want to touch it. He knows that Shmuel won't drink it if he touches the wine. Shmuel says, don't worry. You don't have to worry. Yayin mevushal, cooked wine, you can touch it. I can still drink it. The maid of Reb Chia had some wine that was left overnight, and it was cooked wine that was left overnight. Now they have another concern. What about the snakes? She comes to Reb Chia, Chia said, the sages said, the cooked wine doesn't have that problem, which is interesting because we quoted in the name of Reb Chia before this same statement, but we didn't have the story that he told it to his maid.
Well, excuse me, when we say Giloy uncovered, it's uncovered the top,
Yeah.
which is visual, because I know like on Shabbos, we cover, they have mostly
Yeah,
non-nevushals, and they put them all in coverings to the bottles.
yeah.
So what is Giloy?
Over here, we're only referring to the top being opened.
But we
What they're
have-
doing, what they're covering the wine. There is a Kabbalistic concept that a non-Jew shouldn't even see the wine. It's only relevant for Kiddush. In other words, if a non-Jew saw the wine,
Someone
so
came
it
in
doesn't
and
make
was-
it prohibited to drink. But the Kabbalistic idea is that you shouldn't use it for Kiddush.
So it's not a takana, it's separate.
Yeah, from the Shla.
But it wouldn't
So
make
they
it
covered it.
usher to drink if you've made Kiddush already?
No, but why after your Kiddush? It's fine. But the people don't know that. So they
No,
keep it
okay,
in
I
the
don't know.
bottle
I don't
and
know. They always, they got zipper cup variant. It looks like bananas.
Yeah.
You know, the wines, they zip them down.
So my father-in-law 1 year at the Seder, he has his non-mevushal wine. He wants to use at the Seder, so he keeps it in a bottle. But there was one time he keeps the bottle in a bag because if he has like a non-Jew at the Seder. One time.
Oh, he doesn't have enough.
Yeah.
Second Seder.
No,
You
it doesn't
can't-
have to do first Seder, second
You
Seder.
can invite him.
It has to do with invitation.
Oh.
Whatever.
jump in.
Sometimes the spouse,
Fresh,
whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't have to do with the Seder also. It has to do with the Yom Tov,
Trying to defend what I said, John.
right?
I didn't know. I'm
Yeah.
always confused about that rule.
Yeah.
Just for the
So
mitzvah.
anyway, when we get to Masechet Be'ah, anyway,
Just for the mitzvah.
so one of the guys, this guy, just keeps looking at the wine and he's saying like, oh, so this is special wine. Anyway, at one point the guy says, "I know what that is. It's the blood."
Oh.
Anyway,
That's a true
Okay.
story?
yeah,
Oh, my goodness.
yeah.
I would think people think, nowadays they go into liquor store and they have to ask for a brown bag for the
Yeah.
beer or this,
Drunker.
because you're not allowed to
Have
carry
exposed.
open.
Yeah.
Drunkard.
liquor. So that's what they would.
That's
Yeah.
why they put it in brown
Nine
bags.
cans.
Shami the Rav Ada Barav Igle Chamra Mezika. Rav Ada Barava's servant had his wine was exposed, but this wine was already mixed with water. Amarlei, or Amro, they told him, Yayin Maza gave him Mishum Gilei, there's no problem. Okay, there's no problem once it's mixed. The snakes don't like it mixed; they like it straight. Okay, we're gonna have to stop over here by Yamar of Papa.
Oh.
A min gemixed.
Amar of Papa. Okay,
First
this
of all,
let's leave it here.
I'm so impressed that just for the mitzvah, have the same colors